Sixers with a big win last night in South Philly against the Cleveland Cavaliers as we enter the NBA All-Star break, which is here. Phillies spring training. Got my Phillies Clearwater hat on. Opens today. And guys, it's still Eagles talk every day right now. I don't know how much longer. I still got my Super Bowl shirt on. I don't know how much longer it is going to take to get over this. Trending in the AM starts in 30 seconds.
Holding gets around in front. Joel Embiid,
and Philadelphia has it.
And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. We're live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow on all social media platforms. Make sure you do us that favor. Head over to the DSM Media YouTube page. Hit the like and subscribe button there. Turn notifications on as we grow that YouTube page. It's also the best place there and Facebook to drop your comments, thoughts, questions on the Phillies, Sixers, Eagles, whatever it is you want to talk about today. Good morning. How you doing? I am Phil Stifle, your host. Got lots to talk about today, or very little to talk about today. I honestly have no idea. Like, I knew we were going to talk Sixers, obviously, with their last game before the All-Star break last night, but I didn't really know what the conversation's going to be. And, I knew Sixers would be on the agenda. I knew Phillies could be on the agenda. Put out a tweet about my top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL and where Jalen Hurts ranks on that list. And it's crazy because I'm trying to get past the Eagles Super Bowl loss, and I want to talk Sixers. But this Super Bowl loss has happened at the absolute worst time. Because the Eagles lose the Super Bowl, we get the Sixers game last night, and now no Sixers games for 8 days because they're in the All-Star break. Spring training starts today. Practice starts today. But with the World Baseball Classic, it's a long, long time till we're going to see any baseball. And there's very little intrigue about spring training this year. There's a lot of excitement, but there's not a lot of camp battles going on. So it's a really tough time in Philly sports. At least when the Phillies lost the World Series back in November, we were in the heart of football season. It wasn't like we had another. Are the Eagles really this good? They're undefeated. Yes, I know we just lost the World Series, but the Eagles are undefeated right now. The Eagles really screwed us right now by timing this loss at such a bad time. And it's making it very hard to get over. I don't expect anybody to get over losing the Super Bowl. No team would get over it. No fan base would get over it. But man, the timing just could not be worse. And it's I don't know about anybody else out there, but it's kicking my ass every single day. I can't. My mind just keeps going to, like, it should be focused on the Sixers and their win last night. And can this team get past the second round? But it's not. I just can't move on. I watched 99% of that Sixers game last night. And it was a really good win last night against a really good Cleveland Cavaliers team. They won 118, 110, or 112 down in South Philly. And actually, when that game was going on last night, well, yesterday morning when we were doing the show, we really didn't preview the game too much. But I was really surprised that the Cavs were a 1.5 point favorite over the Sixers in a Sixers home game when the Sixers, relatively speaking, have all their pieces in place and the Cavs were still a favorite. And I was really confused by that. I don't know where the line went by the start of the game, but it was a really, really good win. And I watched that entire game, and I was really trying to zone in to get my mind wrapped around this Sixers team with Jalen McDaniels now instead of Matisse out there, what this rotation really is and what it's going to look like come playoff time. I mean, now the Sixers have played, we're quick math here, they've played 57 games. There's 25 games left in the regular season. We should know what this team is at this point. And I think I do know what this team is. And watching that game last night, and so we're just going to dive right into the Sixers game. We're going to try to distract from the Eagles talk, even though I got a Super Bowl 52 championship shirt on right now. We're gonna try to make the distraction and get it. Yeah, Adam, I know it's tough, and we should be using the Sixers and Phillies and maybe the Flyers to get past it, but because of the timing, it's really really hard to move on. Really hard right now to move on. It's not like we've got 3 Sixers games in the next 5 days, or the Phillies are playing. We've got boring NBA All Star Weekend and pitchers and catchers throwing at 90%. It's tough. But that Sixers game last night, I tried to distract myself and zone in on details of the Sixers team. And even though I was slightly distracted, tweeting Jalen Hurts stuff out and talking Eagles and NFL quarterbacks, I was really trying to pay close attention to the game and where this Sixers team is. And first and foremost, like I said, I was wondering why the Cavs were favored early on in yesterday's game. That Cavs team is a very good team. They're not NBA championship caliber yet, but they got some really nice pieces, and obviously the addition of Donovan Mitchell, which I'll admit I was wrong. I didn't think Donovan. I thought Donovan Mitchell. Maybe I didn't watch enough Donovan Mitchell when he was in Utah because I just don't watch much Utah basketball. I knew he was a really great player, but was he a great player, a guy that could lead a team, in a tough conference? I wasn't sure, but he's proven me wrong. And that team, well coached, pesky. I mean, they get after it on defense. And what I saw last night was a lot of what we're going to see against the Milwaukee Bucks, the Boston Celtics. Well coached teams with great defense. Now the Celtics have more talent with Tatum and Brown. And the Bucks have Giannis and Middleton now back and Drew Holiday. So the talent level between the Cavs and those two upper teams is different, the talent level overall. But the way they play is pretty similar. And I think we could watch last night's game and try to learn a little bit about it. Yeah, the Sixers had a big lead. They were 28 in the second quarter. I know at one point in the third quarter was a 27-point lead. And yes, the lead. The thing is, I don't think it's that the Sixers let up that lead. The Cavs are just a really damn good team. And I think the closest they cut that lead was to 5 or 6 at the end of the fourth quarter there. But the Sixers were able to let them back in, but close the door still. They were able to seal the deal still. There just seems to be, now, we're going to say that the Doc Rivers situation and how he does things and coaches and the rotations and can he get the Sixers past the second round? Yeah, we're going to blame Doc Rivers for a lot of stuff. We're going to talk Doc Rivers a lot over the coming weeks. But is this team talented enough, the Sixers team talented enough to win, to get past the second round, despite Doc Rivers? And I think that should be the question. Because as I'm watching that last night, James Harden is still playing at a much better level than he was last year with this team. James Harden is still, I mean, it was highway robbery that's not in the All-Star game, which we're going to get into the All-Star game in a minute because honestly, I'd care less. Joel Embiid just has a different focus. Again, I mean, he's mathematically second in NBA scoring right now. I think they showed it on the screen. They're both, him and Doncic are at 33.2. I guess just to the 1,000th percentage. I mean, he's just behind Doncic for the NBA scoring lead. But he just plays a little different. He has this motivation that's a little bit different. He has this look in his eye that's a little different right now, Joel Embiid. And it came out yesterday. I don't know if it was before or after the game. I read the clip this morning that he's possibly going to skip All-Star weekend. He's going to skip the All-Star festivities, which I'm glad. That shows some maturity on Joel Embiid's, side of things, because Joel Embiid has been a guy that has loved the limelight, loved the spotlight, loved being in the center of attention. But he's banged up, as he always is. And what's more important, playing in a useless, meaningless NBA All-Star weekend or being healthy for the final stretch? Obviously that foot's been a problem for him for weeks now. Obviously, his shoulder. Nobody really talks about his shoulder, but his shoulder, something's up with his shoulder. You constantly see him grabbing it and stretching it. And there was one or two plays yesterday in the game where I saw Jared Allen of the Cavaliers. Joel Embiid goes up, Jared Allen comes down hard. People foul him really hard. And he takes a beating and abuse on his body. And when you see those hard fouls, if Joel Embiid, there was just one play specifically stuck out at me. And Jared Allen hit him hard when he came down. And if the roles were reversed, if Joel Embiid hits Jared Allen like that, they're talking about flagrant foul. They're talking about, does he play rough? Does he whatever? But Jared Allen does it to Joel Embiid because he's so big and so much bigger than everybody else. It doesn't really become a question. There's really no talk about it. I don't know. Something there that rubs me the wrong way. And it's a shame. But Joel Embiid wanting to skip the All-Star break to give his foot 8 days. The next Sixers game is not till next Thursday, the 23rd. And it's the start of a tough stretch of games, too. You got Memphis right out of the All-Star break, Boston, Milwaukee, multiple games in a row against Miami. Miami's not what they were, but they're still a really damn talented team. You come out of the All-Star break with a who's who list of opponents. So what's more important? Going to All-Star weekend, more travel on your body, a couple jump shots, nothing too crazy game-wise. Or staying in Philly, resting those feet, resting that shoulder, that back, getting the knees, getting therapy, getting some shots up with your teammates, and being ready for the second half. I think if he skips the festivities, it really does show that his focus is a little different this year. And you don't see, against Ben Simmons, he let his motions get in the way a little bit. But for the most part, he's kept his emotions in check this year. It's showing a new side of maturity that we've been hoping for from Joel Embiid for a while. Anyway, last night's game, you look at the box score. Again, had a big 28-point lead. The Cavs came back, made it a game in the fourth quarter. Actually, they won the fourth quarter by 11. That just shows they won the whole second half by 18. Donovan Mitchell obviously led the way for the Cavs, and Evan Mobley's turned into quite the basketball player as well there in Cleveland. But last night you had well-balanced attack. You had all five starters in double figures. You had Maxey, double figures off the bench. He only played 28 minutes, which I'm not crazy about the 28 minutes. I don't know where you get. I don't know in a world where D'Anthony Melton should be getting more minutes than Tyrese Maxey. I know you want him off the bench. That's fine. I'm going to learn and accept it. I don't think it's the right play. I don't think it's the right move. I think Melton should be on the bench. But in what world is Maxey getting 7 minutes less than Melton? I don't like it. Don't like it at all. But he still scored off the bench. He was in there in crunch time, which we've had mixed results of that lately. Sometimes last 3 minutes of the game, you see Maxey on the floor. Sometimes you don't. Last night, you saw him on the floor in the end of the game. And he actually made – there was a play where Joel Embiid got doubled. I think it was along the foul line. He found Maxey, and Maxey made a little floater, which he does so well. It was like 2 minutes left in the game. It was right when the Cavs cut the lead to like 5 or 6. Melton made a huge bucket to stretch it back to 8. And so as long as he's on in crunch time, I'm not going to argue or bash or call out Doc Rivers. I still get the point of getting Embiid and Harden working together in the beginning of the game, gets them in the flow a little bit better. That's fine. But still, you got to make sure Maxey's still on the court for 30-plus minutes. I know he was 2 minutes shy. It's not a lot. But I need to see 30, 32 minutes at least next to his name. The rest of it last night, Tobias Harris had an okay game last night. I really think that Tobias Harris, what was he last night? 5 of 8, had 13 points, knocked down a couple threes. Ever since he said he was a sharpshooter, he's really struggled. I'm bringing up his game log right now because I want to say he's struggled lately. Yeah, 13 points last night, 11, 3, 12, 4. He hasn't scored over 15 points since the beginning of the month. He hasn't made more than 5 shots since then. there was a stretch in January and going back that he was playing much. He's averaging 10 points a game right now this month. We got to figure out. I think it's so critical and so crucial for Doc Rivers, Joel Embiid, James Harden, the Sixers to get Tobias Harris back on some form of a track. I'm not sure what kind of track, how you get that confidence back in him. I mean, you look at last night's box score and how it played out. I mean, he was shooting pretty well, 5 of 8, 3 of 4 from deep. But when you're looking at it, he had played 35 minutes, and you're looking at where the shot distribution went last night. Where are there more shots from? I don't know. Maybe Joel takes one or two less. Melton was hitting okay last night. Does he need the same amount of shots? PJ Tucker, does he need 5 shots a game? I don't know. I don't know where you get him more shots. Maybe the game flow. There's only 76 shots total, compared to 82 for the Cavs. So maybe the Sixers just need to get more shots overall, play a faster style. I don't know. But you got, even if Tobias Harris isn't going to get back to that 15 points a game. Well, we got breaking Phillies news here. Phillies have signed Sir Anthony Dominguez to a 2-year contract extension, club option for 2025. Oh, let's refresh Twitter here a little bit here and see what we can get up on this. I mean, that's great. I'm glad Sir Anthony Dominguez. We're going to get into the Phillies in a minute. I'm glad he's not playing in the World Baseball Classic. But anyway, back to the Sixers team. Got to find a way to get Tobias Harris on track. Even if he's not scoring 15, 20 points a game, Tobias Harris needs to be confident in knocking down shots. He can't be averaging 10 points a game, 8 points a game. He can't. You need that third option in that starting unit to be scoring. So that's something that's I'm questioning going into the unofficial second half. Now it's All-Star weekend. And we're gonna learn so much about the Sixers team. They're in the 30 spot still. They got 3 games back of Boston, but man, like I said a few minutes ago, Memphis right out of the break, Boston, Miami, Dallas, Milwaukee, Indy. That is a who's who stretch of games that we got to come right out of the All-Star break with. Tough games. So it's important. It's important that this team gets healthy in this All-Star break. Like I said, I'm glad, Joel, it's trending that he is not going to be playing this weekend in the All-Star festivities. And quite frankly, I could care less. I know the players want to be voted All-Stars, helps their contract situations, etc. But honestly, at this point of the season, we're focused on one thing, and that's winning an NBA title at this point. Getting out of the second round at this point. Huge kudos, by the way, last night in the Cavs game. Totally forgot. I didn't even see the news that he got traded. Danny Green got traded to the Cavs, a few days before the deadline. He had been in Memphis, part of that D'Anthony Melton trade. He went to Memphis, hadn't played. He just played 3 games at the beginning of March or February. Got traded to the Cavs, played last night for the Cavs. And South Philly gave him a nice little round of applause. I still say that Atlanta series a few years ago, everybody blames Ben Simmons for passing up that dunk, to Matisse, and that's what people remember. But people forget that Danny Green got hurt in game 1 of that series and missed the rest of the playoffs. I still say we win that Atlanta series, Ben Simmons aside, if Danny Green's playing. Danny Green's that's a sneaky addition to the Cleveland Cavaliers that come playoff time. A sneaky veteran that's won multiple titles with multiple teams. That's a really good move for that Cavs team to have him. So a little round of applause to South Philly, giving him a little half clap there last night. I appreciate that. But anyway, All-Star weekends this week, and Joel Embiid might sit out. Will you be watching the dunk contest, the All-Star game, the 3-point contest? I pulled it up. Honestly, I've said it for a few years now. The 3-point contest has kind of surpassed the dunk contest in importance. I could care less about the dunk contest. I think most people can. Not only does it not draw star power like it used to, but it also, to create these dunkers and these athletes, they're trying so hard to come up with the next big dunk that they actually forget to dunk the ball. And it just becomes too much. They make these way too complex of dunks. I just want to see some some slam dunks, man. Vince Carter, tilt-a-whirl, between the legs. I know it's the same thing over and over again. The dunk contest almost has to go away, or you got to invite some street ball people into it. I don't know. Um, the dunk contest to me, I mean, this year's participants, Sixers own, well, Blue Coats own, now Sixers. Everyone's jumping for joy. The Sixers gave this guy a two-way contract, so he might get called up to the team soon. Max McClung from the Delaware Blue Coats, heard he could fly. Houston Rockets, KJ Martin, who? New Orleans Pelicans, Trey Murphy III, who? And the New York Knicks, Jericho Sims. Don't call me Chris Jericho Sims. That's your slam dunk. 4 people, and that's it. That's it. The problem with the dunk contest is that superstars know. Yeah, that's true. But honestly, I mean, when was the last year? I guess the Zach LaVine versus Aaron Gordon, dunk off was the last time. But even then, that was pretty early in both their careers, so they weren't superstars at that point. Blake Griffin, when he dunked over the car. The problem is these guys, every dunk that could be made has been done. They're just trying to one-up the dunk every year with these things that are just so impossible. And you get 3 or 4 chances to try to make it. And when you do make it, it takes the luster off of it. So to me, even if right now you're looking around the NBA, I don't care which stars you say, you put Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jaylen Brown, Zion Williamson in the dunk contest, unless they're just trying to do powerful dunks, 99% of the dunks that they even try would be so, over the top that they'd miss half of them, and it still would be boring. I don't know. The dunk contest to me, I would eliminate the dunk contest. I've said it before. I want to see a 3-on-3 street ball competition. First to 11, makers keep it, and just go at it. Let the stars. I would do away with the whole entire All-Star weekend and just have a 3-on-3, 8-team, 10-team, 12-team tournament. You make your Joel Embiid, you're an all. So you vote your 10 All-Stars. You vote your top 15 All-Stars, whatever. And each All-Star gets to pick any 2 players they want to be on their team. Maybe one of them has to be a legend from the past. And you get something like Joel Embiid, picks Allen Iverson, and somebody else, I don't know, and you have a 3-ball team, and you just go 3-ball tournament there. That, to me, would be entertaining. You have to put a current player, a former NBA player, and maybe a WNBA player, something like that. And you make it like something like that, and then you have the NBA All-Star Championship 3-ball tournament on Sunday. That's fine. The NBA All-Star Weekend is by far the best. I disagree. I still prefer the MLB All-Star because in the NBA, it's still no defense, at least for the first 3 quarters. Still in the NBA, they don't really try. At least in baseball, when you've got pitchers throwing 95, 100 miles an hour up there, they can't take anything off because they could get hurt. And hitters still try to hit the ball. Now, the game is meaningless, but they still put out an effort because in baseball, you can really mess things up if you're not putting effort when you got 100-mile-an-hour fastballs coming up there. And to me, the home run derby still trumps the dunk and 3-point contest. This year's 3-point contest, I really wanted to see George Niang in it, or Tyrese Maxey, but there's no Sixers listed in it. You got Tyrese Halliburton, should be a Sixer, Tyler Hero, Buddy Hield, great 3-point shooter, Kevin Huerter from the Kings, Dame Lillard, he's won it, I think, a few times from Portland. Everybody knows my love of Dame. Lauri Markkanen, who's having a great season in Utah. Anthony Simmons is listed, but I think he withdrew last night or this morning from it, so I don't know who his replacement is. It's not updated yet. And Mr. Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics. At least there's some star power with Dame Lillard and Jason Tatum in there. MLB All-Star Game died when interleague play. Yeah, I get that. The home run derby to me just saves the weekend. I miss Chris Berman with his back gone. I do. And the dunk, and you still get stars that show up for the home run derby. The Celebrity All-Star Softball game, to me, is better than the Celebrity Basketball game on Friday night. I just think the whole thing is a little bit more entertaining in baseball I'm telling you guys, when the home run derby comes to Philly in 2026, you better believe I'm already saving my pennies. I'm getting tickets to that, and I'm sitting out there in that outfield. I don't know who will be the Phillies slug. How old will Bryce Harper be in 2026? You know, that will be an interesting one to see. But the All Star Weekend as a whole, who cares? I don't. It's crazy. And like I said, to kind of sum up the Sixers conversation portion of the show, the fact that Joel Embiid is considering sitting out, he's going to talk to his doctors today, the Sixers doctors, and he might not play in the All Star game this weekend, shows that he wants something a little bit bigger than just the individual. I think Joel Embiid, to an extent, every superstar says the title means more than the individual, but deep down inside, they want those individual accomplishments. I really think that Joel Embiid does have a single focus on getting out of that second round this year. Now, to me, I want more than the second round. I want the NBA Finals. I want another Philly team to at least have a shot at winning a title this year. But getting out of that second round is a big deal. Being healthy in that foot, that shoulder, those knees always, that back always. Having 8 days of rest, 8 days of therapy is huge. Much needed. Very important. So, that being said, let's hope he sits this weekend because honestly, I'll be watching the Genesis Invitational all weekend long. That'll be the only sports. Maybe I'll go watch the PGA Netflix documentary this weekend. Maybe I'll catch a few episodes of that. But there'll be very little sports this weekend in my mind outside of the Genesis Invitational. Seeing how Tiger Woods looks back on the course for the first time in 7 months. That's where my focus will be. All right, let's transition here. As you can see by my hat, this is my Clearwater hat. Got this when I went to Clearwater a few years ago for spring training. Really wish I was there this year again. Doesn't look like that's going to happen for me. Maybe next year. I want to do a trending in the AM right from out in front of the Carpenter Complex. That's a dream for me. Get some of the players on. That would be a dream thing for me to do. But spring training started. And again, like I said, it's hard to get past this Eagles loss because there's nothing going on right now. You got the All-Star break, so no basketball. You've got the Phillies, the start of a long spring training with the World Baseball Classic. And I do want to talk about that. We talk about Joel Embiid not playing in the All-Star game. Well, the World Baseball Classic rosters are basically out there, and there's quite a few Phillies participating in the All-Star in the World Baseball Classic. When the World Baseball Classic started, like 15, 20 years ago, I thought the theory of it was pretty good. Kind of a World Cup thing every 3 years, kind of help grow the game abroad, bring more people into it. But then at this point, do I really want my Phillies players playing competitive baseball? Because I think it's like March 15th or something like that it starts. Do I really want my Phillies playing competitive baseball a month into training? Now, I know a lot of these guys have been down there in Florida for weeks now, getting started, getting their season prep underway. But do I really want them throwing 99 miles an hour to win the World Baseball Classic? No. Do I want them risking injury? No. On the flip side, some of these guys that are playing on the World Baseball Classic teams across the whole thing, maybe they'll be a little bit more. We might not have as many slow starts because they'll be having that competitive edge right from the get-go. I don't know. So the Phillies that are playing in the World Baseball Classic on Team USA, Schwarber, JT, and Trey Turner will all play on Team USA. So the heart of our offense, 1, 2, 3 best hitters on this team without Bryce Harper, will all be swinging competitively for Team USA right off the bat. Garrett Stubbs, our backup catcher, he'll be the catcher for Team Israel. New Phillies reliever Gregory Soto will be pitching for the Dominican Republic. Jose Alvarado, Ranger Suarez, important pieces of our starting rotation and bullpen, pitching for Venezuela. And Taiwan Walker, new pitcher, pitching for Team Mexico. So pitching-wise, I'm concerned for Alvarado and Ranger Suarez. They put a lot of innings on those arms last year with a deep run, and you're going to put them in a competitive situation pretty early. So I'll be concerned there. And Alvarado's a streaky guy. The last thing I need is Alvarado getting wild in the World Baseball Classic and then that carrying over into the season. So those are the names. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of our 25 guys, 26 guys that are going to be playing competitively to start March. And I guess that's okay. But, you talk about pitchers and their arms and getting them out of rest. JT Realmuto is a catcher for Team World Baseball Classic, too. That guy caught a hell of a lot of innings last year. We need him to catch a hell of a lot of innings this year if we're going to make any form of a run to repeat as NL pennant at the NL pennant. Do we really want him putting more innings on those knees? And honestly, has the World Baseball Classic lived up to what we wanted it to be, or what we thought it would be? Like, do you get excited? Like, I get excited for the World Cup because it happens once every 4 years. We don't watch it all the time. I'm not really worried about union players getting hurt in it. But baseball, it just didn't create the same appeal and stuff that the World Cup did. And honestly, I don't know if it's necessary. I really don't know if it is necessary to have the World Baseball Classic, at least with our guys. I don't. Hey, breaking news. It looks like Lane Johnson is going in today for his groin surgery. He just tweeted a picture of him laying in a hospital bed, surgery time. See, everything just keeps going back to Eagles. It really is. Everything just keeps going back to the Eagles. But anyway, I'm going to continue to try to talk Phillies for a few minutes. Then we'll talk a little bit of Eagles before the show wraps up. So camp opens today. Yes, we've got a bunch of guys playing in the World Baseball Classic. And yes, as Kyle said, it looks like the Phillies have extended Sir Anthony Dominguez. 2-year contract through 2025. Sir Anthony's I'm going to be really curious to see how the bullpen shakes out this year. I really am, because you've got 4 guys that could close. I think Sir Anthony Dominguez. I saw somebody say, who's put out a poll there the other day, who's going to lead the Phillies in saves? And I know Philly Rob Thompson, is probably going to roll with some form of a closer by committee to an extent. And I'm not sure if that's the right way to go. I'm not. Sounds like he's going to go with some form of, committee between Kimbrel, Sir Anthony, Alvarado, Soto. And I know he wants to protect Sir Anthony and that investment in that arm there, but at some point you just got to let it go and let it fly. This spring training, that's a question about how he's going to run his team, but there's no question in this bullpen. The top 7 arms in this bullpen are pretty much locked in stone. You got those 4 guys. You got Connor Brogdon, who I think Connor Brogdon's going to impress. He impressed me in the playoffs last year. I think he's going to play a very viable, important role in this bullpen. Not in the 9th inning, but in the 6th, 7th inning. I think he is. Obviously, there's no question who the first 4 starters are. I'll be curious to see who starts opening day, whether it be Wheeler or Nola. You got Wheeler, Nola, Taijuan Walker, Ranger Suarez as your first 4 guys in some form or another. I think the bigger question is going to be Aaron Nola's never really had arm problems, but Zach Wheeler has. Taijuan Walker has. Well, Taijuan Walker doesn't fit this narrative, though. How these guys, after pitching all those innings late into the year and into November, how they come out this year, how tired they are. That's why I think it's important. I didn't love the Taijuan Walker move for other reasons, but bringing him in here and not needing 2 of our young arms in the rotation is important, because not because of anything other than pitching a long season last year. You got to expect Zach Wheeler to miss 2 weeks, maybe twice this year. Aaron Nola might need some rest at some point this year. You need 6 viable starting arms in this rotation. I know I joked about it at the end of the year last year, in the beginning of the offseason, should the Phillies go to a 6-man rotation? I know it's crazy. I know it's totally not the way the game's played. But there was a time when there was only 3 starters in a rotation. And then teams started adding 4th and 5th starters to their rotation. There was a time where you only had 3 starters in Major League Baseball. It was a little short of a season, but you still pitched every third day. Why can't the Phillies stretch it out? Have those 4. Have Andrew Painter. A lot of people want to see Andrew Painter as the 5th starter. He's 19 years old. I don't want to rush that arm. Why not pitch him every 6th day instead of every 5th day? Bailey Falter proved something last year. I know he got roughed up in the playoffs there at the end, but he proved to be a viable back into the rotation guy and deserves it. If Andrew Painter was not where he's at in his development, there wouldn't be a question on who the 5th starter is. It would be Bailey Falter. So why not run Falter and Painter out there? Or you start the season and then you give guys sporadic rests in the rotation. All right, Wheeler, you just pitched a month. All right, you're going to get 2 weeks off. Then after that, Aaron Nola, you're going to get 2 weeks off. Something like that to protect these guys so that come the end of the year, when we're in the playoff hunt, Zach Wheeler's not on the IL. I still call it the DL. Is there anything that is harder to change in sports? Like, I still want to call the Washington Commanders the Washington football team. Not even the Redskins, the Washington football team. I still call the Chargers the San Diego Chargers. I still call the injured list the DL. It's so hard. I still have not wrapped. That's been years now, and I still can't wrap my head around that one. But Wheeler got hurt at the end of the season. So really, the question isn't who's going to be in the starting rotation. It's how the starting rotation gets managed. And yes, obviously, who's going to be the 5th guy in that rotation? If you're going to go with the traditional 5, I'm still giving the start of the season to Bailey Falter. I'm going to put Andrew Painter in extended spring training. I don't want that kid throwing more than 150 innings this year. I think he's pitched like 105 last year. Don't need him throwing 160, 200 innings. Not at 19. So put him in an extended spring training situation. Let him pitch a couple games in AAA or AA. Then come June, July, sure, you want to call him up if Bailey Falter's thrown to a 4.6 ERA or you got an injury and you want to bring him up then? That's fine. But right now, I'm protecting him to an extent. That's a long-term investment there. But that number 5 spot is really the only piece of competition in any of the pitching parts. Offensively, there's no competition really. You've got who's gonna fill in for Bryce Harper till Bryce Harper comes back. In the fifth spot on the bench, your bench consists of Garrett Stubbs, your backup catcher, Josh Harrison, who they just under the radar signed to a $2 million guaranteed contract. This is not like a few years ago when we signed him to an unguaranteed contract and we cut him or gave him his release so he could find another team where he could get playing time. He signed a guaranteed contract, so he's locked. So obviously, Rob Thompson said could start on this team at shortstop. And then we signed Trey Turner, so he's not. So your bench is pretty set there. Dark Hall probably be your 4th guy, the DH kind of guy, till Bryce Harper comes up. And then you got another spot there. Guthrie, a couple other odds and ends in Clearwater. That's it. The conversation around spring training isn't going to be who's making the team or who's going to win which roster spot. Questions are going to be how's the rotation going to shake out in an orderly fashion. The conversation is going to be how does the bullpen shake out who's in what position. The conversation is going to be about who hits leadoff and who hits cleanup. The conversation is going to be has Rhys Hoskins gotten any more confidence in his glove? Maybe. Has Alec Bohm gotten any better on the defensive side? How is Nick Castellanos going to rebound this year? I think that's the crux. I said it the other day, and I've been saying it on Twitter. The Phillies' path to repeating is super difficult. The path to just getting to the playoffs is super difficult because the time in their division with the Braves and the Mets being so damn good it's bad. The Phillies are a great team on paper. They are. But so are the Mets, so are the Braves. So the NL East is a juggernaut. I still think it comes down to, no matter when Bryce Harper comes back, how Nick Castellanos rebounds after last year. We need the Nick Castellanos of Cincinnati, not the Nick Castellanos of Philly last year. We need a guy that's going to hit 280, maybe push 300. We need a guy that's going to hit 35, 40 doubles, 25 home runs, driving 80, 90 RBIs. We need that guy. Can he get back to that? I don't know. I hope so. He's got to have some form of, I use this term a lot in sports. It's positive regression. He regressed so badly backwards last year. You got to think he's not that bad of a player. He might not be the guy he was that earned him that big contract, but there's got to be some kind of middle ground. He was a really good baseball player for a long time. He didn't just pop onto the scene in 2020 or 2021 to then get the big contract in 22 from the Phillies. There's got to be some positive regression back to some of that former all-star form that he had. And I think it's going to be important and necessary. And if Nick Castellanos repeats as last year, it's going to be tough for the Phillies. But if he gets to the point somewhere close to where he was before he came to Philly, there is a scary, scary thought there that you take this team that was already a World Series team and you get Nick Castellanos better. You've got Trey Turner at shortstop. You basically took Soto and Stott and turned it into Turner. Not Soto. Sorry. Segura and Stott. And turned it into Turner and Stott. There's another thing. That'll be fun. That'll be fun to see early in the season. How Bryson Stott, his first full season in the bigs. Well, you had a full season. You got demoted once or twice last year. But this is like his real. This is it. I mean, he's the starting second baseman 150 times this year. And Rob Thompson's going to give him that vote of confidence that he's out there every day. How he follows up last year and the great success he had late in the season this year. There won't be a lot of pressure on him. He's the eighth guy in the lineup probably. I love talking lineup construction, how the lineup. You know, I know people want to debate Schwarber or Trey Turner 1. I'm probably putting Trey Turner at 1 at this point. My lineup, and when I do it without Bryce Harper because Bryce Harper is not going to be there for 3 months, 2 months, 3 months. Be July before we see Bryce Harper, in my opinion. But I'm putting Trey Turner in that 1 spot. I'm leaving Rhys Hoskins in the 2-hole. I know people are going to crush me for that. I'm leaving Rhys Hoskins in the 2-hole. 3, that's where it gets tricky. You could put JT there. You could put Alec Bohm there. You could put Nick Castellanos there if he's confident. 4's got to be Schwarber. So I would go Turner. I would go Rhys. I would go probably JT early in the 3-hole. 4 with Kyle Schwarber. 5 with Nick Castellanos. 6 would probably be Derek Hall. 7 Bohm. 8 Stott. 9 Brandon Marsh. Brandon Marsh been working with Long, their hitting coach, all season trying to get better against lefties. Brandon Marsh is going to be a critical part of the back end of this lineup. Can he be in there 150 games a year? Can he figure out hitting lefties? He was a top prospect at one point in the Angels organization. He didn't really live up to the hype that he was projected to be at, but he's still so young. So it's going to be really interesting. Really interesting. Then you hit Marsh. If you do Stott and Marsh 8, 9, that means you go lefty, lefty, lefty. Well, no, because Trey Turner. I'm still thinking Schwarber in that leadoff spot. I don't know. I love that. But there isn't really many conversations and questions going into spring training this year. It's just more of a theory conversations, how the lineup shakes out, these last few roster spots. I still think the biggest question mark for me is can Philly Rob, the second hottest coach in baseball, Rob Thompson, carry that message that was so successful to turn this organization around last year? Can he carry that message forward this year? Will his voice resonate another year? And I don't know. I hope so. I think so. In this day and age, athletes love managers and coaches that are players first. And he's one of those player coaches, player managers, kind of like Charlie Manuel. I think it'll translate. I hope it will, but we don't know. He was an interim. He had the interim tag all last year. I don't know. That to me is still the biggest question mark at this point. So we'll see how it shakes out. I'm sure we'll get some more information from camp today now that everybody's reporting down there. Well, at least the pitchers and catchers are required to. Most of the players are down there anyway at this point. Who wouldn't want to be down there? Clearwater, Florida? Man, if you've never gone to Clearwater, Florida for a Phillies spring training game, or hell, go see a Threshers game. It's their single A affiliate. The town is great. Clearwater Beach is there's a reason why it's been voted the #1 beach in America time and time again. There is nothing better than going to Lenny's for breakfast than walking over to the stadium. Man, just thinking of Lenny's. And going hitting Frenchies on the beach for a little dinner after the game. That complex is phenomenal. The Clearwater town is great. Clearwater Beach is amazing. Everybody's got to go to Clearwater at least one time. And so if I was a player, dude, I would have gone down there November 1st. I would just have a summer home or a winter home down there. So when the season isn't on, I'm down there by the training complex, but down there by the beach. I mean, a fun side story. The first time I went down there was February 2020. Well, late February, early March, February of 2020, before COVID and the world shut down, all that kind of stuff. That was the first time I'd gone down for a spring training trip. And we're staying on the beach, but we traveled back to the city for the game, 20-minute commute, whatever. We're walking down the main street in Clearwater Beach, and there is like a South Street type or a Key West Duval Street type street that runs through Clearwater Beach. Restaurants, bars, shops. Walking down the street, minding my own business with my wife. I got a Carson Wentz shirt on. Yes, Carson Wentz. It was 2020. That was when Carson Wentz was still the Eagles quarterback and the Eagles quarterback of the future. Honestly, it was before the Eagles had even drafted Jalen Hurts. So walking down the street in my Wentz jersey, and I hear a "Go Birds" really loud behind me. I turn around. Who walks up behind me? Larry Anderson, Phillies former pitcher, Phillies radio guy. And I'm like, hold on a second. Larry Anderson is just out for a walk in Clearwater Beach because he stays down there during the offseason as well. And why wouldn't you? He's like, I just want to say hello to a fellow Phillies fan. Are you going to a game? And I said I was. I just had a 2-minute conversation. He didn't have to stop. I didn't just approach him. He approached me. And it was just such a cool thing because that's what Clearwater is. If I was a player, dude, I'd have a place down there. I mean, it would be expensive, but they make enough money that they could afford it. So I think that's a good transition because I just said because I was wearing my Carson Wentz shirt there, and the last time I put an Eagles quarterback in the top 5 of quarterbacks in the NFL, it was when I put going into the 2020 season, Carson Wentz is the #4 quarterback. Well, that backfired on me. But a lot of people have been talking about the quarterbacks in the NFL. 2 things were a lot on Twitter yesterday, football-wise. A lot of talk more about the poor field conditions of the Super Bowl. We might get into that. We might get into that tomorrow. I'm not sure. We'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow, what I feel like talking about. And if you ever have a conversation you want me to bring up, hit me up on Twitter, @Bearded Knowledge. I'll constantly go bring up any conversational point you want. Might do the field conversation tomorrow a little bit more. But a lot of talk was going around about ranking the top quarterbacks in the NFL. And Cole's checking in. Yeah. And I know, Cole, I was going to bring up your point here that you had put on my post. So I made a thread yesterday with my top quarterbacks. And I think it's really interesting when you try to rank the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Because there's really 3 classes in the elite conversation. You've got Patrick Mahomes at 1, and as Cole says, Mahomes is 1, and Mahomes on a bad leg is 2. And I think that's true. The difference between Patrick Mahomes and the rest of the quarterbacks, there's a gap there. But then I think there's a very small gap, and you can make the argument Joe Burrow is 2, Jalen Hurts is 3, Josh Allen is 4. You could say Burrow 2, Josh Allen 3, Hurts 4. Hell, he played in the Super Bowl and had an amazing game. You could say Hurts 2, Burrow 3. I might not agree with you on that because I think Burrow is probably the second best quarterback, and he's played in the Super Bowl already. And Allen 4. You can rearrange those 2, 3, and 4. But the gap between Patrick Mahomes and Burrow, Hurts, and Allen is big. But then who's number 5? Because I really, truly believe that Jalen Hurts is at least the number 4. I rank him number 3, but I really believe that he's one of the top 4 quarterbacks in the NFL. But everybody crushed me because I put then after my top 4, I put the difference between 5 and 10, it doesn't matter. You could put anyone. You could put Herbert at 5, Trevor Lawrence at 5, Lamar Jackson not at 5. Lamar Jackson might not make my top 20 at this point. I'm just kidding. The difference between those 4 and whoever is at 5, in my opinion, is a massive gap. Because Justin Herbert has come up so small so many times. I've gotten blocked by multiple people and crushed for saying all Justin Herbert is Phillip Rivers. He's a fantasy football quarterback. I know my man Swagman, Sam Wagman on Twitter. He's like, oh my God, no, Herbert belongs in that elite conversation. I'm like, no, he does not. When he gets a new offense coordinator, he'll be better. Maybe. Or maybe he's just not good enough. He's good. He puts up a lot of great stats. So Cole's going to put Lamar 5, Trevor Lawrence 6, and Herbert 7. I can't argue with it. You can flip-flop them in any order. And I would say, sure. But what you got to do is you got to believe that there's a gap between whoever you put it for, Allen or Hurts, and then that 5th guy. There's a gap there. And it's a sizable gap. And I don't want to say that the quarterback position is in trouble in the NFL. But what I want to say is that there was a point that we were trending that there was going to be a lot of amazing quarterbacks in the NFL. But there's a lot more questions at quarterback in the NFL than we realize. He's saying Rodgers at 8, maybe. Kyler Murray might be in the top 10. Dak Prescott's still a top 10 quarterback. But if you'd say Dak Prescott's the 10th best quarterback in the NFL, that normally means pretty good. But the difference between him and even these guys at Trevor Lawrence at 6 or 7, there's a huge gap. The drop-off from the elite quarterbacks in the NFL to that second tier of really good quarterbacks, in my mind, is big. And there's going to be a lot that has to be proven in the next season from some of these guys. Trevor Lawrence could easily crack that top 5 conversation and be in that group, in that category where I've got the top 4 where they're the elite, and then there's a gap from 5 to 6. Throwing Calvin Ridley into the situation next year in Jacksonville, I fully expect the Jags to win their division next year again and be a winning team. They're not going to win the division 8-9 wins. They're going to win that division 11-12 wins. Doug Peterson's got that team trending. But we're going to have to see whether Trevor Lawrence can take that next step in his development. We're going to have to see if Justin Herbert can take his next step in development. Lamar Jackson, we have to see where he's going to play next year. He'll probably play in Baltimore. But will he play? I mean, the guy's got to stay healthy, and the guy's got to win. Aaron Rodgers, who knows where he's going to be? Derek Carr, who knows where he's going to be? Kyler Murray. Will Kyler Murray and Jonathan Gannon get along? Who knows? I would not want to be Jonathan Gannon and be like, all right, my first head coaching job. Oh, God, I got to deal with Kyler Murray and that ego? Man, I wouldn't want to do that. There's such a gap in the quarterback situation, in my opinion. And there's so many questions about that 5 through 8 through 10 range that I'm concerned about the quarterback position going forward. There's a lot of holes in the quarterback world right now. And I don't know what it is that's got me thinking that or why I think that. But I think there's some weaknesses in the position right now. And I don't want to disparage any of these other guys, but I think that, putting Jalen Hurts in the top 4, whatever spot you put him in, is not as much of a reach as some non-Philadelphia people would make it seem to be. And saying Lamar at 5, 6, 7, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, any of these guys, there's too many question marks with these guys. You have question marks with guys in the top 4. I mean, Josh Allen still hasn't gotten to a Super Bowl yet. Should you put a gap between Burrow and Hurts and Allen? Because Josh Allen's obviously supremely talented, but he's got a talented team and he still can't get to the Super Bowl. He had a drop-off without Brian Daboll there this year. He still got Stephon Diggs, though. I don't know. It's really interesting where the quarterback situation is in the NFL. And I'm damn glad that Jalen Hurts is an Eagle. I'm damn glad. I saw somebody tweet out, one of the reporters that cover the Eagles put something out there that obviously Hurts is going to get a massive extension this offseason. And it doesn't necessarily hurt our salary. Everyone's worried about our salary cap situation this year, and we're going to get into that as we talk this offseason. And with no basketball, we're going to talk a lot of football the next couple of days. The salary cap situation, there's some restructurings that could be done. And Jalen Hurts is still going to be one of the cheapest quarterbacks next year. His extension won't go until the following season. So I'm not sure exactly how that affects the cap, but it probably won't affect the cap much next year. So they'll have room to sign people for this next season. He'll get the extension, but it just feels different. When Carson Wentz got his extension, there were still question marks. I didn't question him. I was big on Carson Wentz. But there was still a debate whether he was that guy or not. Whether he should be that guy. Even amongst the fans, amongst the reporters, amongst the media, amongst the national people, amongst the Eagles organization themselves, there was not even a consensus 100% to give him that extension. But with Jalen Hurts right now, there's 110% consensus that he's the guy for the Eagles the next 5 to 10 years. Now, can he stay healthy? Can he play 17 games? Something I think we always talk about load management in basketball and saving pitchers' arms for the playoffs. Is there going to be a load management with quarterbacks at some point? You're going to see guys just get weeks off throughout the season, play 15 games, make sure they're healthy for the playoffs. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know how that's going to play out. But there's a consensus 100% across the board that Jalen Hurts deserves and is the guy going forward. Amongst the organization, amongst the fan base, the media, even Chrissy Simmies, has got to believe and understand that he's the future of this Eagles team. Even Sileo, Dan Sileo, can't say that he's not the guy for the Eagles going forward, that they should look elsewhere. And if he does, somebody should backhand him. I don't know. Just my thoughts there. But yeah, Jalen Hurts, third best quarterback in football. Yeah. The gap between the top 4 and the rest of the league, massive. Absolutely. NBA All-Star Game weekend, useless. Spring training, starting. Let's go Phillies. Can they repeat? That's been fun. I had no idea what I was going to talk about today. I just went 57 minutes strong. Like, share, subscribe, turn notifications on. Make sure you go over and sub to the DSM Media YouTube page. If you're watching this on replay, drop your comments, your thoughts, your questions. I'll answer your questions tomorrow's show. Bring them up. I go back and check everything, every show. I am Phil Stifle at Beard and Knowledge. This is Trending in the AM on DSM Media. Back tomorrow for another day. We'll see what we're talking about. Who knows? You got something you want me to talk about tomorrow? Anything. Sports or not? Twitter, at Beard and Knowledge. You let me know. My DMs are always open. For Trending in the AM, we'll see you tomorrow. Go Birds.
And Philadelphia has it.